Howdy! What's going on, everybody? On this New Year's Eve 2024, my name is Kevin Smith. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Loud Majority Live. We got an awesome show for you guys today. We're going to have a little bit of fun at the media's expense, which you know we love to do on this show. More than almost anything else, we're going to be going over the top 10 the top 10 media hoaxes of 2024. Some you may remember, some you may have forgotten, but we're going to be sure to have a little bit of fun at the expense of the media. Also, later in the show, we're going to be joined by my friend Chanel Rion from One American News Network about an interesting idea she has for a new version of the White House press corps, as she's a former member of the White House press corps, and it is probably one of the most corrupted institutions in D.C. that nobody really seems to talk about. So make sure you guys keep it locked in here for that. Chanel will be joining us a little bit later on in the show. First off, I got to give my public service announcement today, guys. Make sure nobody drives home. Okay, take an Uber. Just pay for the damn cab. No need to be driving home, getting yourself into trouble, okay? Everybody, take an Uber. Don't get pulled over. All that good old crap that, you see on the signs on the side of the road. Make sure everybody's safe tonight. We want to make sure you're all back with us on Thursday. Before we get started, here we go. Where's my chat? Boom, there it is. Before we get going, guys, hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. Happy New Year, everybody. I'll be honest with you, I'm really not a fan of New Year's. I don't really know why we do it. But it apparently is just something that we do here in America where we all gather around to, experience what it's like for Ryan Seacrest to tell us all what time it is. It's pretty odd. I don't know why we do this, but it's something we do here in America. So, I will not stay up till midnight. I got news for you. I ain't even going to get close. I am not even going to get close to midnight. That's not happening. Not even remotely close. But once again, before we get started, guys, hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. Let's dive right on in. So as I said, today we're going to be having some fun with the top 10 media hoaxes of 2024 as put together by the Federalist. I think they did a pretty good job putting this list together. Let's have ourselves a little bit of fun. Because why the hell not? Americans who have lived through the Donald Trump political era are no strangers to the legacy media's disinformation campaigns. From the Russia collusion hoax to the very fine people Charlottesville lie to the litany of dishonest info ops from left-wing activists masquerading as journalists. And despite America's waning trust in their ability to report accurately and fairly, these Democratic yes-men show no signs of stopping. So, as I said, the Federalist put together a top 10 list of the biggest media hoaxes. This list is in no particular order. Here are the biggest hoax misinformation campaigns run by the legacy media this year. Number one, they put the bloodbath hoax. We all remember the bloodbath hoax. That was taking Donald Trump's remarks out of context. Is one of the legacy media's favorite pastimes. March's bloodbath controversy was no exception. Speaking of rallygoers in Ohio, the former and soon-to-be president warned that the U.S. automotive industry would face an economic bloodbath if Democrats won the White House in 2024. Media accolades quickly jumped on the former president's comments, which they distorted to make it look like Donald Trump was threatening a literal bloodbath if he lost his re-election. Left-wing outlets such as NBC News, CBS News, the New York Times, and others ran headlines using the dishonest framing. Politico ran a headline saying, quote, "Trump says country faces bloodbath if Biden wins," which is, of course, not only is it not what he said, it's not even remotely close to what he said, but these people have absolutely no shame. Number two, the war the mainstream media has been waging on the Supreme Court. while the Democratic mouthpieces at ProPublica kickstarted the media war on Supreme Court last year with smear attacks on Samuel Alito and Clarence Thomas. The New York Times took the hysteria to a whole new level. In May, the outlet fabricated a controversy about an upside-down American flag at a Virginia residence of Alito and his wife, which the outlet claimed was a symbol adopted by some Stop the Steal protesters on January 6th. Justice Alito told the paper he had no involvement whatsoever in flying the flag, but that it was placed there by his wife to protest a neighbor's profane yard sign. Seems logical to me, but the mainstream media didn't really care about that. Despite the claims of ethics violations from so-called experts, the Federalist legal correspondent, who researched judicial rules as a law clerk for years, noted that the Gray Ladies, quote, effort to smear Justice Alito was as unethically based on the flag. The Gray Ladies' effort to smear Justice Alito as unethical based on the flag incident cannot withstand scrutiny. And the calls for Alito to recuse from January 6th cases have no basis in sanity. America's newspaper wasn't done attempting to tarnish Alito, however. A few days after the Times ran another hit piece against the justice with an appeal to heaven flag flown at one of his homes. While well known and originating from the Revolutionary War, the Times attempted to gin up controversy over the flag by claiming it represents a push to make American government in Christian terms, which is, of course, not what that flag represents, not in any way, shape, or form. Now, we get to one that shouldn't shock any of you, and that would be the hiding of Joe Biden's cognitive decline. If you're looking for an example of how the media interferes in our elections, look no further than their concentrated effort to hide Joe Biden's cognitive decline. When videos showcasing Biden's senility went viral all over social media this summer, media hacktivists adopted the White House baseless claim that they were cheap fakes. Remember that? Cheap fakes. A completely new and concocted phrase, kind of like misinformation or malinformation or disinformation or whatever the hell they want to say. Only after the president's disastrous lie-filled performance against President Trump did the media realize they could no longer hide the massive scandal from the public. Another huge one was Project 2025. Ah, yes, the dreaded, the vaunted Project 2025. It didn't take very long for the media to make the Heritage Foundation's Project 2025 their go-to boogeyman for the 2024 campaign. Developed to provide a conservative roadmap for the upcoming administration, the plan was the subject of hyperbolic articles and Democratic speeches designed to brainwash voters into believing it would destroy the country as we know it if Trump got elected. In actuality, Trump has repeatedly said he was not affiliated with the project, and the proposal recommends policies conservatives have supported for decades. Yeah. Number 5. We're going to keep going here because these are too good. These are just too damn good. Before we keep going, hit the thumbs up button, share the video out all over the place. You know what, guys? Do me a favor. In the chat, let me know what your favorite media hoax was of the year so far. I'm curious as to what yours was as we keep going through this, a very good list that the Federalist Society has put together. Number 5. What is a border czar? Remember that? Oh, yeah. After Democratic oligarchs orchestrated a silent coup to replace Joe Biden with Kamala Harris on the ticket, the media jumped into action to cover up the vice president's myriad failures, including her role as the border czar. To hide Harris's incompetence from voters, left-wing journalists pretended Biden never tapped her to oversee the invasion at the U.S.-Mexico border. Left-wing rags like Axios went as far as to claim Harris was never actually the border czar, despite the outlet repeatedly referring to her as such in numerous articles. Right, so aside from the tweets and Joe Biden saying it out loud, none of it was actually true, according to Axios. But, you know, what are you going to do? Then we get to the Arlington National Cemetery visit. Remember when that was going to be the end-all, be-all to Donald Trump and the world was going to end because Donald Trump went to Arlington National Cemetery? Obviously seeking to tarnish Trump ahead of the November elections, Anti-Truth NPR ran an anonymously sourced hit piece attacking the former president, wait for it, for visiting Arlington National Cemetery at the request of Gold Star families. The smear was aimed at fomenting the controversy about Trump's team taking photos and videos of the former president alongside the loved ones of those killed during Biden's disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal. The media hoax didn't sit well with the Gold Star families who blasted Kamala Harris, Democrats, and by extension their corporate shills in the press for attempting to politicize the event. I got to be honest with you, I love this list because if we really wanted to, we could probably sit here until next year and come up with all the things that the media have just blatantly made up. Another one of my favorites was the garbage comment. Legacy propagandists had their hands full in the closing days of the election after Biden referred to tens of millions of Americans as garbage. Amid fears that the president's remarks could hurt Harris electorally, the Democracy Dies in Darkness crowd rushed to cover up the scandal, while politicos employed their media classic Republicans pounce framing. NPR's David Folkenflick decided to play doctor and mind reader for the day, telling his ex-followers that he, quote, listened to Biden's comments several times and came away with the conclusion that the president's supposed stutter was to blame for the gaffe. Joe Biden's stutter. If I had to hear about that once, I had to hear about it 2,000 times. 2,000 times. Oh, but there's more. There's more. Let's not forget what Donald Trump said in regards to Liz Cheney. See, what Donald Trump said here was a perfectly obvious comment. While speaking at an event days before the election, Trump critiqued Cheney's obsession with overseas military adventurism. The former president referred to Cheney as a radical war hawk, not inaccurate, and defended troops being forced to fight in never-ending conflicts neocons like Cheney would never personally partake in. He said, let's put a rifle in her hand, standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it when the guns are trained at her face. You know, all the war hawks when they're sitting in Washington in their nice building saying, gee, let me send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy. Yeah, because as we've known forever, the people who send you to war never seem to send their children to war. Something to think about. Something to think about. But I got to be honest with you, the last two that the Federalist goes over happen to be my favorite. Before we get to that, Mike Lindell.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. You know, I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, MyPillows, towels, slippers, blankets, sleepwear, dog beds.
Whoa, Charles. Everyone now can get MyPillow products at huge discounts at MyPillow.com. That's right. Now's the time to go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our 3-in-1 sale. We're bringing you exciting new products, overstock specials, and closeout deals you won't find anywhere else. For example, when you buy one of our brand new MyPillow 2.0s, you get another one absolutely free. And with our overstock sale, you save 50% on our luxurious Giza Dream bed sheets. That's as low as $29.99 for the best sheets ever. And with our biggest closeout special, you get our all-season slippers for only $35. Or our sandals and slides for just $25. Quantities are limited, and once they're gone, they're gone.
Guys, head on over to MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD, for up to 80% off everything on the website. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. Guys, before we keep rocking and rolling here, make sure you hit the thumbs up button, hit the like button. If you're watching on X, do me a favor and repost this so that more people can get to it, because we got more. We got my 2 favorite ones here, my 2 favorite ones by far. We're going to go over to the Atlantic now with their ridiculous Hitler hysteria, because, you know, nothing says good journalism like bringing up inaccurate comments about some guy who's been dead for almost 100 years. In a last-ditch effort to solve Kamala Harris's flailing campaign, the Atlantic's Jeffrey Goldberg, who ran the debunked suckers and losers comment, published an anonymous source in an October hit piece that claimed Donald Trump said he wanted the same kinds of generals as Hitler. It also contained accusations of Trump, that Trump expressed anger about paying for the funerals of a murdered army soldier. Of course, all of that was complete and utter BS. To the media, it didn't matter that the sister soldier blasted Jeffrey Goldberg for his anti-Trump fabrications, or that numerous former Trump administration officials debunked the bogus claim. What matters was regurgitating the Atlantic's slanderous hatchet job, which they did without question. But that is not my favorite of the year. My favorite absolute media hoax, greatest media hoax of the year, was when they claimed that Donald Trump actually hadn't been shot, despite the fact we all watched it happen live. If you watched and read nothing but legacy media, there's a chance you'd know little about the 2 assassination attempts against Trump this year. After a longtime Democratic donor after a longtime Democratic donor allegedly tried to kill the incoming president at his Palm Beach resort in September, left-wing propagandists at CBS News and the Washington Post downplayed the attempted murder as nothing more than an incident. Outlets like Time Magazine whitewashed the suspect's history of donating to Democrats, criticizing him for a tweet as a 58-year-old man with an unclear political ideology. Such dishonest propaganda isn't surprising, however. It's the same playbook the media hacks who spent years leading an assassination prep campaign with horrific smears and lies directed at Trump, deployed when initially covering the first assassination attempt. Now, many people in the mainstream media, and to their credit, did not pretend that we didn't see what we saw, but many Democratic influencers, many left-wing influencers on X certainly did, and it was never called out. It was never called out by the Democratic establishment, despite the fact that we all saw it. And some people out there, some Democratic liberal hacks, like Chris Cuomo, obviously had a little bit of a problem with it.
What I found completely appalling and outrageous was how unimpressed lefties were by Trump getting shot in the head. And how many of you would say, will you stop saying he got shot in the head? It just nicked his ear. Once again, to my earlier point, fuck you. You get nicked in the ear by a bullet and tell me that it's no big deal. I'm good. Nah. That's crazy. If that had happened to Harris, you guys would have talked about it for 3 days nonstop about how we're in helter-skelter mode or whatever it is. And then you call me a bigot for saying that. This is why you lost the election. That's exactly why you lost the election. You are out of touch. You lost the plot about how people feel in the majority. That's what you did. And that was a perfect example of it, that situation. Oh, I think it was just a teleprompter. You would have never assessed it that way if you didn't wish the guy had died. How fucked up is that? That you wished he had died. That you play down that he was shot at. It was disgusting. And I, for one, felt a measure of satisfaction that you were punished for it politically, because there is no place for that. Oh, he would have. He is not the standard of any kind of virtue. Okay? And he still beat you.
Honestly, I'm really not comfortable with the sentence, I agree with Chris Cuomo, but alas, here we are. Why? Because it was so obvious to so many people who were just living in reality when they tried to say, oh, he got hit with shrapnel, or it was the teleprompter going off. You know, he bounced his head off the podium. There were so many of these nonsense, I don't even know what you'd call them. They're certainly not think pieces. But people out there going, oh, you know, it was glass from the teleprompter, or he hit his head on the ground. We all had eyes. We all heard what happened. We all watched what happened. And as I said before, I'm not comfortable with this sentence, but I find myself agreeing with Chris Cuomo, which puts me in a very odd place. So I want to thank the mainstream media for that. Now, obviously, I'm not giving Chris Cuomo any credit whatsoever. He's doing whatever he can to to relaunch his fledgling career on, I don't know, News Nation or something. I'm not really familiar with the channel, or Patrick Bet-David show. But to me, it's funny to watch some people start to come around the mountain. Now, why is it funny? Because markets decide everything no matter what. What do I mean by that? People like Chris Cuomo, people like Bill Maher, are they actually believing that there's a change happening right now? Are they actually seeing a shift? Yeah. But they're also seeing the ability to come out against the mainstream media because they know that it is okay for the legacy media to be their boogeyman. Now, Bill Maher's done this for years, so I'll give him his due. But guys like Cuomo, purely financial, trying to save his own ass, or I don't know, relaunch his brother's political career. Who the hell knows? I just think it's funny to watch. Guys, in 1 second, we are going to be joined by my friend Chanel Rion. She is the host of Fine Points on One American News Network. I'm on her show all the time, so I thought it was just about time I introduced you guys to her. We will be right back. Alrighty, guys, we are back. I'm so excited to introduce you guys to my next guest. She's had me on her show, I don't know, like 24 times now. So I thought it would only be fair if I brought her on here. She is the host of Fine Points on One America News Network. Everybody, please say hello to my friend Chanel Rion. Chanel, how are you?
Hey, I am better than I should be, probably. Having a good time up here. Full of post-Christmas cheer and all that.
That's it. The holidays are always either really great or really exhausting. I always say sometimes you need a vacation from vacation, but
well, either way, it reminds you that you're alive. If you're exhausted, I mean that's life. And if you're ecstatic, it's the point of life.
That is absolutely true, and this one definitely reminded me I was alive, in more ways than one. So, obviously, we are getting ready for the next Trump administration, and obviously that comes with a bit of a shakeup. We were talking earlier about Speaker Johnson and how I wouldn't want to be him right now for any amount of money in the world. We've seen that Donald Trump has come out and endorsed him, but with a 1-seat majority, what sort of, what are you expecting out of him? Do you think he's going to cater to the America First base, or do you think he's going to try to tack to the middle and try to bring Democrats over? Where do you see this going?
I think he will try to cater to the MAGA base because at this point, that's the only base that will really accept him if he plays along. That said, everything he does, even if his intentions are there to cater to the base, the actual manifestation, given the realities on the ground, is going to look like he is absolutely not playing to the base. And so, as you say, it's a tough position for him to be in. And I've seen so much chatter, people complaining that he's a compromised man and all that. And I really don't think that's the case. I think he's just a really nice guy who has found himself in this position now. And his only real saving grace is the MAGA base. But it's, again, not a winning position for him because he just has so little to work with.
Oh, I've long said it too. So many people always think that like those in power have like nefarious intentions and whatever. And sometimes you're just a little guy from Shreveport who bit off a lot more than you can chew. And I think that right now he has bitten off a lot more. I think he's got to be waking up every morning thinking to himself, why the hell did I ever agree to this? He could have just been one of the 435 that nobody's ever heard of before. Instead, now he's got everybody hating him from every angle. And people come, you got Thomas Massey over here, and you got Akeem Jeffries coming in from the other side. He's in a pretty tough spot.
He's a punching bag, and he will be a punching bag. But I do know, I mean, he's a man of faith, and he's someone who really relies on his faith to ground him. So that would perhaps set him apart from past speakers. Not that past speakers weren't men of faith, but just he's more so than others. That said, it comes with the potential downfall of him looking like he's always weak. And that, again, given how the roller coaster that 2024 was, I have no doubt 2025 is going to be just as exciting. So who knows what's going to actually happen a month from now, 2 months.
I say to everybody, if you're out there and you think you know what's going to happen over the next 4 years, you're a liar. Because I mean,
you learn nothing from the past year.
Yeah, I do this every single day, and I'm sitting there going, I don't know. I mean, 2 days after Christmas, we were all hunky dory, and then Elon put out a tweet about H-1B visas, and now we are all in a kerfuffle. Everyone's mad at each other. Laura's yelling at people. Nobody knows what the hell's going on.
I hate this. And, this also grounds me. Let's think forward for a second. Watching that whole fight go down, and I sided more on the side of saying, look, this is a cultural conversation we need to be having. Everybody disagreed. I would, for the first time, I felt like I was completely disagreeing with MAGA. But it wasn't that I was disagreeing with H-1B visa. To me, it was not about the visas. Everyone wanted it to be about the visas. It was a much needed conversation about our cultural malaise and the education system that has brought us to a society where kids can't name 2 countries in Africa. They can name 50 genders. They know what brand underwear Taylor Swift buys, but they cannot tell you who's vice president of the United States. That's what we're dealing with, and that's what Vivek was critiquing. But it got lost in the malaise because of something that I fear for the movement going forward. You have a very solid group of clout chasers, of people who live on the oxygen of controversy. And they reside on the right and the left, but more so on the right now because the right is in, quote, power. And you have a very solid group of MAGA influencers who have discovered that the left is not giving them attention anymore. And when the left doesn't give them attention, they don't get the numbers. So where else do they go to get the attention? Sow discord within your own side. Mm-hmm. And this is beyond like the whole debate about what happened after Christmas. This is more a broader critique. And I think that's something to watch for in the movement. There's going to be a lot of forces that really need the base split. I think they succeeded in part, but here's another ground in which they, whoever the discorders are, succeeded. They turned the conversation away from border burglars in our southern border, millions who are coming in. And not only are they burgling our house, the nation, they're coming into our country and they're not working. So the debate effectively went from, we'll talk about immigration. Stop talking about border burglars who don't work and get over here and live on welfare. Talk about the 500,000 who are educated. Let's attack them.
Oh yeah, no, but I that's what I said about the H-1B thing. Is that you know what? It is. That is if you take like the 10 immigration problems, that is like the 10th one. You know, like
it is. And this is not to discount their arguments. Their arguments are valid. Look, there needs to be reform. Great, but debate 101, scale. Can we talk about the scale of H-1B problems? Mm-hmm. The scale is not commiserate with the problems that the country is facing.
Oh, absolutely. And it was so fascinating to see because I've long, we've had the argument that, we've had the conversation about it bringing down low skilled workers and low wage earners in black and brown communities. And now I'm sitting here, I'm like, look, if you want to go be an engineer at Google, go. Like no one's stopping you. No, it's not. That is not the biggest problem.
No, it's not. And also it's like everyone also wanted to leapfrog over this very capitalistic instinct, right? So now we've got populism, and there's a fine line between populism and just outright anti-capitalism. Mm-hmm. And that's a line we shouldn't be confusing. Don't confuse big tech and big media and big government with big capitalism. Capitalism ultimately is still the correct path. We have a populist interpretation. Don't now say capitalism is part of a globalist problem. at the core of capitalism is seeking excellence. And if you are not excellent, go make yourself excellent. Go train. Go figure it out. And I think that is a discussion that's pretty harsh, and framed in certain ways that will certainly be taken the wrong way. And even this
100%.
conversation is going to be taken the absolute wrong way. But I stand my ground in saying, even before Trump came out with his statement, I thought, I think this is a conversation that needs to be had in the country. The culture that has promoted Taylor Swift over actual careers, resulting in people getting degrees, getting tens of thousands of dollars in loans to get a degree in puppet arts. That's where we are today. So don't tell me you're now going to force me, a business owner, to now hire a puppet arts degree major because they are American. That just dives us into this whole affirmative action conversation. Yeah. Such a weird debate.
It is, but you know what? I thought it was good because
I love it.
It dispels the whole cult notion because, Elon and Vivek and Trump said something, and
MAGA is not a lemming group.
Exactly. We don't just fall in line with the status quo. We don't just, Trump says a thing and we were all like, whoa, well, I don't know about this. Why don't we take a step back here? And I've long said that this administration isn't going to be a burn it all down. It is going to be methodical and assess and tweak here, tweak there, because it's taken some of these institutions 30, 40, 50 years to get as bloated and corrupt as it is. If you think that something's going to change on day one, I mean, that's just not the way the world works. It's not the way government works. It's not the way Congress works. This is going to have to be tweaked rather than just, walk in, toss grenade, and leave.
Look, the team that is in place now is not necessarily going to be the team that's in place 1 year from now, 2 years from now, or at the end of the Trump administration. So there's going to be a lot of ebbing and flowing. Not as much, I don't think, as the first term was, just because a lot more people have shown their colors than had in the first administration. But nothing is guaranteed, and 2024 certainly proved that to all of us.
Absolutely. And speaking of change, speaking of ending the status quo, you have a very unique take on one of the most corrupt and boys club institutions in Washington, D.C., and that is the White House press briefing room. Now, we have seen over the course of the last several years, the White House podium, headed up by Karine Jean-Pierre, has been laughable in their peddling of nonsense. And if it wasn't for the two Fox News anchors getting one question a week, we would never get any sort of pushback. I would say, well, whatever Peter Ducey's making, not enough, because that guy's got the best. That guy's got the best job in D.C. But why don't you tell everyone, because you work there, why don't you tell everybody a little bit of the inside baseball on how the White House press room actually works, how they pick their favorites, why right-wing hosts don't seem to get any sort of play. Why don't you tell everybody about that?
Yeah, so the idea that the White House press briefing room is controlled by the White House is proper, but it's currently a myth. The White House does not currently control the White House briefing room, which is wrong. I discovered this firsthand on the ground when I was chief White House correspondent. I was White House correspondent for OAN from 2019 until 2023. And I had 2 years under Trump, 2 years under Biden. I learned a lot under the Trump administration through my one-on-one battles with the White House Correspondents Association. What is that? It's a 501c3 organization, private, that has been set up during the Wilson age, over 100 years ago, set up by a bunch of guys, and they set it up to help bring order to the briefing room. And it really was not a formal agreement. It wasn't a formal an anointation. It wasn't a law that was passed. They just set themselves up and said, we're an association. We will operate inside the White House. And that became tradition that soon became a cartel. the White House Correspondents Association has a monopoly inside the briefing room, a monopoly that is completely unjustified and not grounded in law. So I discovered all of this in my fighting with the WHCA. I was not a member. I started looking into them, realized that it's actually not mandatory to join, and they actually have no say in who sits where, but in practice they do. And I learned very quickly that even the White House press staff were completely unaware of what their rights were. And they just thought, because the status quo exists, you don't question that and you simply keep going because they tell us what to do. And that was stunning to me. So, I mean, I did my homework on it. I started my own White House Correspondents Association. And in doing my homework, I realized, one, nobody before my organization had ever challenged the White House Correspondents Association that I know of. And two, the Correspondents Association has held a very firm grip over who gets to sit where, who has access to the president in the Oval Office. They have things called pools, meaning they rotate reporters, and you get to basically go through a lottery. You get an assignment, and you get to go and recover the president on Air Force One or when he travels. So that's the pool, right? All of that is in the hands of the White House Correspondents Association. And it wouldn't be a problem if they were at least fair, but they're not. They are 99% radical liberal Democrats who sit on these very pretentious thrones of truth. And they believe they are the arbiters of truth. They are not biased. You're the biased ones. If you have a position, that means you're biased. In reality, once the cameras are off, they all have positions, but they pretend like they don't. And that to me was the worst offense of all. And it was stifling freedom of the press in that room. So when I started my competing organization, it was just to the tail end of the first Trump administration. And I talked to some very high up people inside the Trump White House. They acknowledged me. They acknowledged my point. And they said, you're absolutely right. We checked with White House legal counsel. Even the DOJ confirmed it, that indeed the White House Correspondents Association has no legal right to operate the way they are in that room, assigning seats, assigning tents, assigning desk spaces. That's what they do. And they acknowledged all that. And they said, let's revisit this conversation after the election. And of course, Biden takes the election and that conversation ended right then and there. So now that we have the future, a much brighter future ahead, one that has, in fact, a respect for freedom of the press, my hope is with the organization that we will be able to, reshape that briefing room and what it looks like. There needs to be more diversity of opinions in there.
It's so funny too, because you see some of these reporters from outlets you've never heard of before, like French outlets, yet the up and coming reporters, the non-legacy reporters, get no play whatsoever. There's people out there who get millions and millions of views, and I want to be clear, right and left, who the American people would be far better served if OAN and the Young Turks got to ask questions than Presse France or some South Korean outlet that nobody cares, or the Times of India. Like, nobody cares. Nobody listens to these people. But they hold themselves to such a high standard. I know the host of a show, Breaking Point, Sagar and Jetty. He was the former White House correspondent for, I think, the Daily Caller. And every person I've ever known who's gotten to go in that room says it is the biggest cluster of all time, because
Yes.
it's just a big boys club full of boomer reporters who ask the same 9 questions. They never challenge anybody. And as I said, if it wasn't for
producers, by the way, the producers call them in and say, here are some stories that we're focusing on, and it's really the smaller outlets that have true independent journalists who are actually asking questions that are not scripted from the higher ups. And of course, that's not the narrative they want to push out. And of course, before NWC, before National White House Correspondents Association, no one challenged this system. And I'm very, very happy to see now more people kind of getting involved in the conversation. I know that currently the White House is very excited to do some new things. I'm really excited for the new press secretary, Caroline Leavitt. I know her. I worked with her in past. It's going to be such a breath of fresh air to see her in there in place of the DNC extended wing of big media.
It's so funny that when I saw Karine Jean-Pierre up there in the very beginning, I thought to myself, wait a minute, weren't you just sitting in the chair? Like she was just like a pundit on the network she's taking questions from. I think at one point, look, I don't have a party, sleep with who you want, but wasn't she like dating a CNN reporter for a while? Like,
she's married.
Can't do that.
Yeah, she's married to someone who's at a pretty high level in one of the big networks. And look at where Saki landed. Saki she was taking questions from MSNBC and CNN and then entertaining, getting a job with MSNBC while also being press secretary. It's an insider's game, and I'm very happy to see that a lot of that game is being exposed. Will anything be done about it? That's going to be up to the White House. This next White House will have to be very judicious. There are some actual constraints now inside that briefing room, including the size of it. There's only so many people who can physically be in there. And so I've had recommendations of, bring in representatives, right? You bring in a representative who represents, say, podcasters, regional radio people, like bring in representatives who can then field questions from NWHCA members, right? And there are ways to solve a lot of the problems that the WHCA ensured were there just to maintain their power. WHCA has ensured there are certain problems and they're like, oh, we can't fix that. We can't fix this. They're saying that because they want to maintain their celebrity, which they don't have any except in that room. It's all they have. It's all they have. The White House Correspondents' Dinner is all they have. And the board dramas that happen in between. It is ridiculous. Look, I've been to school for life. I never knew what the term like high school was. Like it's like high school all over again. I learned that term as a 29-year-old in the White House briefing room. I was like, this is what people talk about when they say high school behavior.
Oh yeah, well they literally call the White House Correspondents' Dinner Nerd Prom, which is the dumbest name. I mean, look, don't get me wrong, it looks like a good time.
That would be flattering to them because if they were as smart as nerds, it would, at least be entertaining.
Half of the people there didn't get invited to prom. I'm talking to you, Chuck Schumer. But like, it is nice to see, like, you got like Margot Robbie rubbing shoulders with some of the ugliest people on the planet. It's so funny because people always say politics is just Hollywood for ugly people, and at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, you absolutely see that. You got like Kardashians walking by and like bumping, like knocking over Jerry Nadler, and I'm like, this is the strangest. Well, look, I guess if you got $25,000 a plate for a dinner, you could sit next to Khloe Kardashian, but us peasants, we don't get to. And then they all sit there and they make little jokes about each other like they're all cute, and I'm like, you guys,
like an inside,
suck.
It's one big inside joke, and the only people laughing are their mothers. Like no one really cares, and the people who care are the people whose priorities are not of America. They're really of very subset group of people inside Washington. Now, in the coming year, I hope to have several regional dinners for NWCA, competing dinners. So we'll have one obviously in Washington, but I was talking about having dinners in Texas and Vegas, just to have regional dinners. Nashville, maybe we'd have a way to bring in and celebrate citizen journalists, new media, and just a diversity of press thought, which is such a novel idea. But I hope that this is going to be a new age to usher in that entire movement.
Well, they have a roast at the regular White House Correspondents' Dinner every year, and I will gladly headline that roast on whoever
Done.
the guest of
You
honor is.
Find the roast. I'll make sure.
I will do far better than Stephen Colbert. So, Chanel, you are on OAN, and I know everybody knows OAN. Obviously, you just got a big, huge name with Matt Gaetz coming on board. Where can people find OAN? Because honestly, I say this a lot of times, some of my favorite hosts out there, you, Dan Ball, Dan Baldwin, Matt Gaetz, obviously a good friend of mine. I'm on your show all the time, so you can see more of this face because you just can't get enough of this. But where can everybody find OAN? How can they watch your show? When are you on?
You know, the easiest way to watch is just most people have a smart TV. So if you have a smart TV, just download the OAN Live app. Just download it. And you should be able to get every show on OAN. You can watch on demand. Most TVs will have it. Now, we have some exciting news coming up, which I can't divulge right now. But as you know, it's been very difficult. If you're watching cable TV, you can't watch OAN anymore. We used to be on cable. We were one of the top performing news outlets given our size. And they took us down. They being the Democrats. Democrat lawmakers targeted us because we were reporting and breaking stories that turned out all to be true. But back then was enough for the Democrats to pressure cable carriers, literally with letters, to drop us. And they did. So we have some new announcements coming up in the coming year. I can't disclose what all of them will be, but part of it will solve the problem of some cable viewers being unable to watch us on cable. Some of that is going to be fixed in 2025. But until then, to gain unmitigated, uninterrupted access to OAN, the best way to watch is through the app OAN Live, and it's pretty much accessible on any device that has access to the internet.
Absolutely. Guys, make sure you download the OAN app, not only so you can see my face as often as possible, but they do phenomenal work over there, and we have to support the hosts and the anchors and the content creators that we believe in, and I believe in everybody over at OAN. Chanel Rion, thank you so much for joining us. You're on OAN, but let everybody know your handles. They can give you a follow.
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter or X, Chanel Rion, ChanelRion, and I'll post some content from the show there. And stay tuned this upcoming week. Matt Gaetz will be, I forget what date he's actually premiering his first episode, but that show is going to be phenomenal. He's going to be on the 9 p.m. Eastern lineup, and then I'll be right after him on the 10 p.m. Eastern lineup. So we've got Dan Ball at 8, Matt Gaetz at 9, and my show at 10. So
that is one hell of a primetime lineup. That is
so fun.
Watch out, Fox. We're coming. Chanel, thank you so much for joining us.
Love it. Thanks for having me.
Alrighty, guys, we will be right back. Alrighty, guys, we are back. Super excited. I'm very happy Chanel was able to come on. Ben D. Leaded. I quit cable, but I have OAN Live on my phone. Just plugged Rabbit into my new TV. There you go. There was OAN. Very good stuff, guys. Make sure you tune into Chanel over there. I think she said 9 p.m. Did she say 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. Eastern? Whatever. Watch the entire primetime lineup over at OAN. Great people. Plus, you'll get to see more of me very soon. You'll get to see more of me very, very soon. Before we keep rocking and rolling here, guys, head on over to lfatv.us. That's lfatv.us. That's your home base, your mothership, your landing pad for all things LFA TV related. Check out the LFA TV store. That's the best way to support this channel and everything we've got going on over here. While you guys are there, consider becoming a monthly donor over at lfatv.us. That's lfatv.us. We want to bring you guys more stuff, and we can't do it without your help. All right, so we got a little bit more time left than I planned. But we're going to have ourselves a bit of fun. We're going to have ourselves a bit of fun. It's been a tough year. It's been a tough year in media. It's been a tough year in politics. It's been a tough year for everyone's lives. So I thought it would only be fitting. You know what? I'm going to put the live chat up while I make this announcement. I'm going to put the live chat up while I make this announcement. I thought it would only be fitting. Oh, you know what? Actually, before I do that, for all my local viewers, I'm going to be putting out an email very soon and Facebook posts and the whole shebang-a-bang. For anybody who wants to get involved in local politics, we've got a big race coming up against a very good person, and he's facing off against a giant asshole, the biggest asshole, gaping asshole. So a very good guy is going up against a giant asshole big asshole, big, gigantic asshole. Going to be going up against him. We're going to be getting involved in that. Super excited about that. So I'm going to be putting out that message. Make sure you're following me on all the platforms. If you live locally, we certainly could use everybody's help to stop this gigantic, gaping asshole, huge asshole, big asshole. And I know one of his staffers is watching. So to hell with it. Huge, as some people would say. Yeah, so big. David, how are you? Mike, how are you? So, guys, we're gonna end the year on a positive note. We're gonna laugh together because I think things have been a little tough. Things have been tough. Over the last couple of months. So, we're gonna end the show this year with a funny video. We're going to end the show this year. Yes. Sagan McGroin, thank you for the reference. I like that. That's funny as hell. Major asshole. Loves Spaceballs. We're getting a new studio update very soon, so we're going to be able to have some fun and plug in multiple sounds that we can play every time something comes out like that. So we're going to have some fun with that. But we're going to end the year on a positive note. What would you guys say if I showed you a video of a Jack in the Box employee beating the shit out of an annoying customer? I think that would be a good way to end the year. A very, very fat woman with yoga pants. Spoiler alert, yoga pants aren't for everybody. They're not for everyone. I feel like that needs to be said more in public. A very fat woman went into a Jack in the Box, and apparently they messed up her order. And she was none too thrilled. And decided to begin throwing things at the employees. And one employee in there, he was really about gender equality, if you ask me. He stands up on the counter and then proceeds to beat the shit out of this person. And everything about this video I'm going to show you guys is perfect, from the stretched out yoga pants to the fact that this person needed a beating. Maybe not from the guy, but whatever. You know, things happen. Things happen here. Before we get to that, guys, we're going to wrap the show. Head on over to loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out our shop. That is the best way to support the Loud Majority and everything we've got going on over here. Check out the Loud Majority store. If you guys would like to support the network, and while you're there, consider becoming a monthly donor. Click that little donate button right at the top. We really do appreciate it. So, who's ready to watch a funny video to end the year? You guys ready? I'm ready.
Fix my shit or I will blow this whole motherfucker
Wait
up.
for me to get out first.
Do you fucking understand me?
Wait for me to get out.
Okay, fix it now. What you taking me for? I don't give a fuck about you or your fucking damn work.
Ooh, beat that. Yeah.
Ooh.
just, look, guys, violence isn't good, but everything about that is perfect. From the giant fat woman complaining about her order getting messed up, to the throwing things, to the fact that the guy was wearing Crocs. That might be the most jack-in-the-box thing I've ever seen. Everybody, be safe tonight. Have a great New Year. We're off tomorrow, but we will be back on Thursday. Enjoy yourselves. Everybody be safe. Make sure you make those New Year's resolutions. That way you can break them in like a week. Let's be honest, everybody's going to do it. Be safe, everybody. Until next year, stay loud.